With all things considered, this week's episode was definitely one that is a build-up to the conclusive last two episodes of this core, going into the next core and the next turning point and everything that goes along with that whole shenanigans that we'll see in April. But for now, this one is the one that is going to make finally the conclusive chapter of the ED/Shelfie arc, and I am all here for it. And I know a lot of people aren't exactly into the school academy arc, but I think this is one of the more self-discovery / sort of slice of life arcs. Even though there's little action, obviously you need to get your backstory and like everything building up to what the main events are, and Mushoku Tensei does really great at that, especially with, you know, building our characters and developing them, and then getting into some action and finding out the resolutions and with problems and solving their mental, you know, questions and everything that they have along with that. And that is something that has made this and Re:Zero top isekais, on not only being the first ones of their types, but also being the ones that set a standard. And not many have kept up with that standard, but hey, you know what? You've got the two best ones right there. And let's just delve into this episode here, because this one's pretty damn good. We start off in the beginning with Fitz kind of staring out her window, and she's seeing Rudeus and Elenice and freaking Cliff chilling outside, kind of just talking and everything. And of course the princess never expected those two to be together, because who really did? Because Elenice is, well, she's her, and with all the things going on in her disease, or not disease necessarily, her curse, she, you know, doesn't settle down. But obviously, as we've discovered on here, Cliff he's the source to everything, and obviously Rudeus is gonna have a bigger part in that later on, but everybody's surprised. And so Fitz is kind of like second guessing everything right now, because obviously with Rudeus being around and freaking everything he's been doing to help out with our one and only Nanahoshi, she hasn't seen Rudeus much lately, and she's really starting to question everything, because obviously with Paul, she's seeing the example of Rudeus's genetics and how Paul's kind of a whore. And so she's you know, obviously saying, you know, how Rudeus likes chicks, which is true, but considering what the future holds for, you know, Rudeus and her and others. But so she's questioning her confidence and everything along with that, and wants it to come back, which this episode likes to cover here. We go along with Rudeus, and he's outside kind of practicing his sword swings, because, well, we know he's pretty damn good with magic. He needs to practice on his physicality and sword work, because that is one thing that him and Paul definitely drilled together throughout his childhood. And outside we get to see our one and only bodyguard out there with Rudeus, and he's talking to him, and pretty much along the lines of how, you know, there's so many men that like aspire to be really strong, and none of them really have like a decent goal. But, you know, he asked Rudeus pretty much what his goal is, and he pretty much doesn't really have one per se that he's telling Bodyguardi, at least. And so he asked him what Bodyguardi considers a reasonable goal, and, you know, obviously he says women or love, and that Rudeus will understand one day when he finds it himself. Thou Rudeus, you know, obviously does have that goal. He doesn't really want to open up about it at this point, understandably so. However, he does ask him, Rudeus asked him if he has a cure or knows any cures for his impotence with, you know, his little boy, and sadly he does not. So Rudeus goes on with his day, kind of just walking down the corridors and everything, and everybody's avoiding him, and they really pretty much have ever since he defeated Bodyguardi in the hallways, because he's now defeated him and Fitz and pretty much anybody worth a note in his special classroom he has defeated, and so everyone is just genuinely afraid of him. But while he's going down the hallways, you know, his little disciples themselves, Renia and freaking why am I forgetting right now, her and Persina, good grief, Persona are out there, and they're kind of like, you know, you have 2 minions now, and you need to keep standing your ground. You can't really blame everybody for being afraid of you. And now that we're army number 2, you need to define the order and brand order. And of course, Linnea says, you can't have 2 number 2s, because Rudeus says they're both his number 2s, and they can't have 2 number 2s. You need to, put your foot down and define an order of dominance. And it's just like, yeah. But right after that, we get to the special classes, and Cliff's asking Rudeus about, if he's learned anything about curses, which I guess he's been kind of asking him for a little bit now. And that's when Rudeus pretty much tells him the story about how Laplace put, the curses onto the super spears and everything, and how that worked out. And of course, Cliff's a little afraid because, supers they're feared by everyone from the Tails, because of the curses from the Cliff, or the curses from Laplace. Man, this is a scuffed one. I am so sorry, folks. But he tells him about that, and Cliff gets all excited, and they get in trouble because, like, they're really loud and disruptive in class, even though they're not super disruptive. Obviously, as a teacher, that disrupts a classroom. So they get shushed a few times, and we go to the lunchroom, and it's Rudeus and Zanaba, and our little dwarf Juliet. And they're pretty much just sitting there talking and eating while everybody's rumoring about Rudeus, kind of raising his ego, but at the same time making him sad because of everything, with nobody talking to him except for his few friends. And so Bodyguardy joins the table, and he's got like 6 pitchers of freaking beer with him. And of course, Juliet is complimenting it, and he compliments her for being a dwarf and knowing good taste. And what would you do in that situation? Well, of course, Zanoba asks if he'd share with them, and he of course says yes, because drinking alone is very boring. However, Rudeus does mention to Zanoba that they have class, and drinking is probably not the best idea ever. So of course, Juliet is drinking the booze away by herself, and with Bodyguardy, and they are enjoying it all together, which leads to Rudeus going and seeing on the Hoshi, and they are practicing these spell circles that she is drawing and trying to figure out teleportation at this point in time. And while she's been doing this a little bit, she's actually kind of figuring out original spells along the way, and especially for somebody without mana, that's pretty actually brilliant. So Rudeus is kind of going on her a little bit, making sure what her goal is, and she wants to try at this point bringing somebody from Earth to this world to see if it would work. And while Rudeus is nervous about the cause and effect of that with the shockwaves and everything, she pretty much says that she's not going to let that happen, even if the goal comes to fruition. So Rudeus wants to get some information out of this, learning about summoning circles too and everything. And she tells him pretty much that you'll learn once this is all figured out, and that I'll teach you a little bit of something today. But Rudeus really wants to know now. So of course she just throws a book at his head and says, if you want to learn, read. Straight to the frickin' point, and I love it so much. But right after that, Rudeus is pretty much contemplating again how he has no leads on his ED or anything, and he actually gets a letter in the mail, and it's from Soldat, which is really cool because Soldat's, we obviously know, like I said, kind of a Paul father figure friend, and he hasn't seen him in over a year because he's been at the academy for a year at this point and is 16 years old. And they go out to lunch, and obviously Rudeus kind of, comments on the fact that, since he never really got to have the experience of how it's pretty much what he imagines a high school reunion would be like. So they meet up, and they're kind of just reminiscing on the old times about how, how Soldat thinks that he looks like a beginner adventurer, and Rudeus asks him if he needs him to carry his bags, and of course Soldat respects everything Rudeus did in the past and as their friendship goes along. So he's like, no, we'd carry your bags. And so they're talking about the time they took on the dragon, and just really bonding and get along, considering how long it's been since they've seen each other. However, he comments on the fact that Elenice is with, he calls her a slut, but pretty much saying that, it's kind of weird seeing you with a boyfriend, but she says, I found the right man, and Cliff's there for me, and you would be surprised I can settle down. And she's just showing her, ways about that. And it's really good to see that she can do that, even though obviously Cliff slept with her, and it's kind of weird, but I digress. And so sadly, Soldat gets taken away because there's a bunch of clan meetings that he has to attend to at the place, and Rudeus tells him next time he's in the area, hook him up or hit him up, and they'll continue on with another hangout session. So they kind of split up. Soldat leaves, and Selenice is there, and she's thinking about giving Cliff a class portion in adventuring. And, Rudeus is joking around about the fact that, don't take Cliff on anything too dangerous. You don't want him getting hurt. And so, of course, she comes back with a, unlike you, he's not going to be challenging a dragon or a demon king, because obviously Rudeus is very strong. And Cliff's really kind of upset about this, because he tells Rudeus that, that he doesn't want his help. And that he, obviously Rudeus tells her that, and he gets really defensive about it. But Rudeus isn't going to go on this journey. He's going to go back to the school and just relax for a bit. And on his way there, he sees Fitz and his cousin just shopping along the way. And so he decides to approach them, since, like I said earlier, he hasn't really talked to Fitz much lately. And, of course, his cousin gets really defensive. And, when Rudeus pops up and, asks what Rudeus wants, and Rudeus pretty much tells him, just seen Fitz, pass on my way through, just trying to say hi. And obviously Fitz isn't making eye contact with him, and his cousin says, when Fitz is, in public protecting the princess, he stays quiet. That's what they call him, Silent Fitz. And so Rudeus is like kind of, like I said, offended because of the fact that, Fitz and him have something, really passionate as a friendship, and he's not talking to him. But this is kind of something they covered, and I think I might have talked about it a little bit last week, maybe not. Like I said, last week was a little tough with the heat and everything else going on. But it gets covered here in a minute. But once Fitz gets his persona, the princess can copy Fitz as a look, so that Fitz can go, or the princess can go out in public looking like Fitz and not get hounded. It's kind of a genius type of thing, why they got the Silent Fitz persona going on to inquire that, so the princess can take over the looks and go out herself. But Rudeus is getting back to the school and questioning why Fitz didn't talk to him, and he wants to talk to somebody. But obviously the two demis, wouldn't really have a nice conversation. Zanoba's got a class, and then the Hoshi's not really one to talk. So he decides he's just going to go read a book. And he gets to the library, and he's starting to read a book, and he sees that Fitz is there. And he asks Fitz why, or Shelfie, why she was ignoring him. And she, was like, when I'm guarding the princess, I can't really talk. And this is when Rudeus picks up on the fact that, like I said a minute ago, that Princess Ariel is disguising herself as Fitz, and it's a pretty genius thing, so he's not taking offense to it at all. However, Fitz comes back with a, how could I ever hate you, with an ear itch behind. And then Rudeus starts thinking, while sitting outside, seeing Fitz, that, everything that Fitz does is sticking with him. And he's questioning, obviously that this is love, but does he love a man? Is he gay? Because obviously, we all know that he doesn't know that Fitz is Shelfie. But he goes to the vice principal to kind of see if he can figure anything out about Fitz. And obviously, with the royalty and everything, the vice president's pretty much sworn to secrecy about Shelfie's identity, and does not tell Rudeus that she is a female, but tells him that he is a male. And so with that being said and done, Rudeus goes back to the library again, and he's really pondering on everything, what would he do if, Fitz ended up being a woman? And, would he ask Fitz out if it was a man too? He's really contemplating everything along with this fact, because, there's so much going on in his head, and the fact that he knows that it's love, and there's so much just going on in this poor 16-year-old boy. But the best comment he makes here is he wishes he could at least, jerk it. And I think that is the best thing ever, because literally 2 seconds after that, Shelfie asks what he said, grabs him by the shoulder, they fall to the ground while Shelfie's trying to get to him, and she falls right on top of him. And they are staring at each other eye to eye while she is directly on him, pelvis to pelvis, and Rudeus has his hand on her butt. And right after that, Rudeus knows that Fitz is a woman. And of course, Fitz gets blushed, denies everything hardcore, and runs away, because obviously that's going to ruin the identity and the persona of it, and Shelfie's not exactly ready to tell Rudy about this thing. So, after that goes on, we find out that Rudeus is, stood up. So this is a sign, obviously, from the man god. He came to the academy, learned about the teleportation, and Fitz shelfie is a very big key to everything going on with that. So Rudeus realizes, obviously, you know, that even if that's the case, that Fitz wants to hide everything and he's going to respect that. However, right after that, he checks his, you know, his thing again and realizes that it's not completely perfect yet because it does not do what he wants it to do. However, it is very clear that Fitz is the key to everything here, and now he has finally figured it out after a year. And that's where the episode ends. Like I said, this is very setting up for these last 2 episodes of the core, to that nice, stupid 6-month break, to one of my favorite arcs of all time of this series. Great episode. Very much needed. Not too much really happens, which I guess you could say a lot about the university arc, or the academy arc. But it's an episode that was needed, and I loved it so much. Next week, we are going to finally get a lot of connections going on here. So, you know, let me know what you guys think of this episode, because I am a big fan of this type of stuff. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I like development and building. Just setting up huge things to enter huge things instead of like no answers or delving into things without any explanation. I love this kind of thing. It's not for like dumbed down people, but you still have to think and pick up clues. However, it at least gives you the context of everything and what's going on, and just paints you a nice picture. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It means a lot to me. And if you're feeling generous, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to that 1K here. And I know we are only a quarter of the way there, but damn, it means a lot to me. Yeah, I never thought I'd even make it this far, to be quite honest with you. So I upload 2 to 3 times weekly, sometimes 4, depending on the week. And I love doing it. You guys are the best. That's pretty much all I have to say about this video. This has been Squids, and I will see everybody in the next video. Take care. Peace.